It's your crazy phone.
I so use yours.
Okay, that's better. Because you can edit that out.
It's on. Okay.
It's gone.
All right. You got makeup? Come on. We're rolling.
You're rolling without this camera.
Yep.
Okay.
Not using it. Good morning, Vietnam. No. Good morning, everyone. We're here for our first segment of Spectrum, and with us today is Brendan McGinnis. He's with the St. Joseph Police Department, and he was with the FOP, the Fraternal Order of Police. What's your title, Brendan?
I am the Vice President of the FOP, and I am an electronic crimes detective for the police department.
Oh, electronic crimes. Do we have a lot of that in St. Joe?
Well, lots of it. Anything you record on.
Wow.
Phone, computer, when it gets taken by the police department, it comes to me.
So, how long have you been with the department?
I'm going on 17 years.
17. How did you start out?
I actually was in the military, graduated from Central High School when Mr. Hedge was there. Went into the military for about 6 years and came back from Fort Bragg and decided I want to come back to St. Joe. Was in the Guard for a little bit and then got hired on with the police department.
Okay. All right. So, Dr. Hedge, do you remember this young man?
Well, he was in Mrs. Pibro's part of the alphabet.
That's correct. That was exactly right.
That's exactly right. But could you explain when you say forensic or electronic? Explain that for people, because I think a lot of nowadays a lot of individuals are getting I don't want to use the word ambushed by that, but they are, because with the technology and unfortunately. People who are smart enough to do that don't always do it for the right reason. They
Correct.
do it for criminal reasons. So if you explain how that works with the police department and your position on how to, obviously try to help individuals to keep from that happening.
So basically, the easiest way to do it is tell everybody anything you do on your cell phone, it's recorded and it's tracked. When you first get that cell phone, you scroll through and that big 14-page thing, and you click accept all terms, and so you can put your phone number in and get your phone started. Not many people have actually ever read that, and you actually just agree to AT&T, Verizon, Cricket, whoever your carrier is. Anything you do on that phone, they have the right to track, resell, or do anything of that nature. Companies make a lot of money, especially like Facebook, off reselling data. I mean, that's how
There's no way to opt out of that?
No, because if you want the phone to work, you have to accept all their terms.
Okay.
So it's kind of a thing, but you can be safe about it. A lot of websites have cookies, tracking devices, that type of stuff. The average person doesn't go to those type of websites, though.
Right.
Those are more of your vulgar websites that contain that sort of stuff. So if you stay away from that, you probably won't have that many problems. But phone numbers are out there. You can Google anything nowadays. So technology has really came a long ways.
So if you're the adventurous type and you're taking certain photographs of certain areas and sending it to personal people, actually that's being recorded, right?
Yeah, it usually will track the location, so it'll be the latitude and longitude of where you took that photograph will be attached to that photograph, as well as the date, time, and where you sent it from.
So it's not private.
So is there do y'all monitor that or is it just if something comes up, if a crime is committed or they think it is that when you're able to go back and then pull that information? Because you hear all the time there've been several high criminal cases, and they say, well, Apple or Microsoft or what won't give you that data. They won't allow you to get into their phone. But you're saying as soon as you accept the terms, the phone's open.
Well, we have other software that is able to bypass the security systems that Apple and Microsoft and them set up. So there is no information that is not accessible. If you remember, I think it was 5 or 6 years ago, they had the big deal out in California with the guy, and he got in a shootout with the police. And,
Right.
the government was trying to get into his phone, and Apple wouldn't allow him.
Exactly.
And then they sent it off to this mysterious place, and they got into his phone. We have that same technology here in St. Joe. So,
Fantastic.
Now, my question is that technology only available to law enforcement, or can someone with the right connections get a hold of that?
it's only available to law enforcement. It's really so secretive that I'm not even allowed to say the name of it. We just call it
You just
software.
have
And you have to go through a vetting process. They have to screen you. You have to sign a contract with them. It's a rather expensive piece of software, but it's a very useful tool. We're actually now going back. We just purchased this in April of this year, going back to some of our old homicide cases that we had iPhones or Samsung phones that we couldn't get into back in 16, 17, 18, that we're now going to be able to get into. So it's really a game changer as far as solving crime.
Fantastic.
So when you first started out, you were a rookie evidently, but how did you decide you wanted to get into a certain area?
Well, I worked this area. I worked Midtown for the first 4 years.
Well, I mean into electronic.
Yeah, and then I did traffic for about 10 years. And then I thought, I kind of want to do something different, a change of pace, more of an office job, I guess. And so an electronic crimes position came open. I applied, and I've been through more training than I could ever want or dream of at this point. So.
Yeah. Well, 30 years ago, they didn't have that position.
No, we developed this position in 2008 at the police department. So back then it was still flip cell phones, and the razors were the razor flip phones were high tech.
Now, how does this work with burner phones? You hear on all the police shows, they say, well, he used a burner phone. How does that work with your technology that you have? People use burner phones to commit crimes or set up crimes or intimidate people. How do burner phones work with that software that you have there?
The phone itself is a burner phone, but when they call Dr. Hedge or Mr. Wilkinson and we go to you and say, hey, who is this phone number? Who called you from this phone number? Well, it's no longer a burner phone. We know whose phone it is.
Oh.
So there's a little back secret.
Back door. Okay, all right. Well, one of the other reasons why we wanted to talk with you was also the safety tax that's coming up.
Yes, sir.
That is very important to our community and to our safety. When we think about safety, community's fine until you need them.
Correct.
And then you would like a response.
One-on-one.
Go ahead.
You can show me 1080. I have it right on.
Kevin?
You usually work this shift?
Yes. Yep, I'm a midnight kind of guy. Been doing this for about 3 years now.
Yeah.
I'm a nocturnal. I don't sleep during the day. Or excuse me, at nighttime.
This what you always wanted to do, or?
Yeah, something similar to this. Hello. What's up?
106.
I'm just getting into that now.
Okay.
I'm parked here on the 5th Street
Port
side, getting some
183.
details and
I'll
stuff.
take your alarm in 5.
Yeah, no, not yet. No, I can call you until I figure something out. All right.
Over 500 in stock. We're bound to take care of your tire needs. New, used, or
Copy.
certified
Yeah.
pre-owned, or quality service at fair prices. Tri-State Ford in Maryville is the place to go.
So you said this is a possible assault call?
That's what it came out as, but sometimes it turns into other things,
Right.
other calls, I guess.
I was lost, you found a walk, you don't be giving up.
Hello, this is Officer Christopher with St. Joseph Police Department. Is this Brandon?
How you saved
Hi, Brandon. I'm here at Bellevue and Chestnut. Where about are you? What house are you in?
But I couldn't ask for. So thank God.
It looks like an alleyway.
Thank God.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just walk up there then. Okay. If you want to keep the windows on, you can. I'll be right back, okay?
Okay.
I got a heart like a truck. It's been drunk through the mud. Runs on dreams and gasoline. And that old highway holds the key. It's got a light down when it's sleeping. Like on the taking a hell of a beating. A little bit of love is all that it's needed. But it's good as it is till I know.
Check ambulance. It's going to be 6313 more. Need the abandoned person. There's a surgeon on vehicle. Three. Go ahead.
Give me just a couple minutes and I will head that way.
Copy.
Jack makes good whiskey. Red dirt makes good riding roads. Country makes good music.
Copy. It's an overdose.
Copy. You got your seatbelt on?
I got it.
Okay. Will you shut your light off for me? We're gonna go down in the south end for a possible overdose. So they're gonna be running lights and sirens.
Alrighty.
123, 132, someone you guys look at my call folder.
I'll be right back.
39 with Cal.
Copy.
123.
Copy.
The station for country, cash, and concerts. Q Country 92.7. You can find your future, run to your past. You can look for answers.
101 to 103, you can slow your response time. He's currently in the ambulance now. Awake, breathing. Go ahead.
Head to that SS Motors if you'd like.
Thank you, I would appreciate it.
Copying right from last. So this call that we're going to here is just an assist motorist. Apparently there's a semi just broken down, blocking traffic, so we're gonna go and kind of assist and make sure there's no accidents happen, especially that busy intersection there. Okay.
Where's the location at?
This is gonna be at 4528 Stockyards
Okay.
Expressway. I'll be out with that semi here at the intersection going northbound. Just think out here and see what's going on.
Tell us about how that can benefit our community once that passes, if it's fortunate enough to pass. How can that benefit our community?
Well, think I have to start back at the backstory to get to how we got to this point. So I became the vice president in 2020, and in 2020 I stood up before the city council, and the police department had 8 openings. We said, hey, we can see the trend right after the George Floyd incident. Things are probably going to, our community has always supported the police department, always supported public safety, but the national trend does play a part. I mean, eventually it comes to St. Joe. We didn't think it would be the ramifications as every place else, but we knew it would filter to us eventually in some degree. In 2021, I got back up in front of the city council, and at that point we had 21 openings.
Wow.
So in less than a year, we had lost over 13 people. Can't blame it on one specific thing or the other. Everybody likes to put their thumb on things. I think it's always a a pot full mixture of reasons, and everybody has their own. And then we fast forward to this year, we were as many as 30 at one point. We were short 30 officers. The Sunday before we began protesting outside of City Hall, we had 4 officers covering the entire city of St. Joseph.
Wow.
When you are short that many people, how does it affect the operations of the department?
The operations still go 24/7. We just force people to work, is what happens.
How about response times, things like that?
Response times, we have went from being proactive to we are 100% reactive in the community. So as far as stopping cars, stopping bad incidents, whether it be fights, drug deals, anything like that, we're completely 100% reactive at this point.
So you have to get a call from the comm center to tell you to go?
Yes, correct.
Hmm.
So that day, that Sunday, actually, at 4 officers working, and to keep in perspective, we should have 9. The city is divided up in 9 districts.
4 officers to cover the whole city of St.
The
Joseph?
whole city of all 44 square miles, we had 4 officers covering.
That's crazy.
We had an incident in the south end where a guy, domestic between a mom and a son, an officer came upon it. The suspect begins fighting. Luckily, a citizen stops to help the officer, get the person in custody. He goes to jail. That case moves on, but at that point we realized, okay, we aren't doing the community any good. We aren't protecting the community, and we definitely aren't protecting our people. So something had to change, and that was the reaction that the community saw out front of City Hall. Of course, we had talked and tried to inform the council, but it wasn't getting the attention that we thought it needed.
All right, since the protest, since you did that, and it seems like there is an agreement on the table. You know,
Correct.
again, it's only on the table until it actually takes effect. Has that helped numbers? I mean, you say you're down 30 officers. Has that helped recruit anyone to know that St. Joseph is looking to bring in definitely additional funds that will definitely boost the police department and make, you know, working conditions even better? I mean, you have to love what you're doing, you have to feel like you called there, but you only, you know, it only goes so far. So since the protest, have you seen a difference in morale in the police department, as well as are any numbers increasing because of that?
Yeah, because actually anyone starting today, is it 49,000?
Correct, 49,000 now.
Where it was 39,000, so
Yep.
maybe that's having an effect.
So it has. Really, it was a twofold problem. One problem that I didn't think about when we protested, which became a benefit, probably one of the most impactful is we have 44 officers that have less than 3 years on the department. So we're a pretty young department. It was good. We talk about community support. We talk about how this community has always supported the police department, but to see it is completely different. You know, and those officers stood out front of City Hall, and they heard people honking horns, and I mean, every day you had your choice of 3 meals from the community that had stopped by, you know, pizza, whatever. So if we determined after day 2 that if nothing else, these young officers now see what this community means and how kind of bridge that. It's one thing to talk about it, now they've seen it. The second fold would be, we're down to 21 openings now. Okay. So we have been able to hire 9 people. Since this agreement was reached, we've also had about 8 or 9 people reach out to us from surrounding agencies that want to come here. I think the tax is kind of a sticking point because people really don't understand that, you know, do we need to wait for the tax to pass or should we come now? Of course, we tell them to come now.
Well, you have a commitment from the city that they're going to honor that 49,000, right?
Correct.
Whether it passes or not.
Correct. So that's what we try to tell them, but you know, it's one thing for someone to say that, and it's another thing to actually see it on your paycheck. So we feel like it'll be positive. We thought it was going to end up hopefully with 1 positive, and we're at least 2 now. You know, and I think just the officers being part of the community, being able to talk to community members, because just like you all and your viewers have questions, the officers are receiving those questions. So I think everything's done and for God's reason, and He knows what tomorrow holds, and so I think we're on the right path.
what has that done for the officers? Like new officers come in at 49. What has that done for officers? How many years have you been
17
on?
years.
So what has that done for you and other officers that may have more than 5 years on the police department?
So the city did a pay study, and they said the starting should be 49,000, the maximum would be 72,000, and the average is about 15 years. So I received a nice bump to the maximum.
Okay, good.
And so did everyone else. They were basically placed within the pay study where they would be on a 15-year scale.
Okay.
And of course, that instantly shot up morale. I mean, that was the third phase of things instantly became very positive.
Right, you're up to the maximum now, so can I get a loan?
Yeah, yeah. I still have 15 years of previous though for things.
Oh.
But it was good that I told people that that the day after the council passed that was the first time in 17 years that people actually smiled at work, which is kind of sad, but
it's important.
It's important, and
it's definitely important.
And the morale was good, and people are excited again about coming to work. And I work Monday through Friday, like we were talking. I work every 6th weekend for on call. But these guys and girls who are out there, they're working 12-hour shifts.
Right.
Being short as we are, sometimes it's 16, sometimes it's 18 hours a day. So I can only imagine what that's like. And so it's 18 hours of, we're about like pastors and church people, usually don't come to us to tell us you're having a good day.
That's true. And there's no 8-hour day.
Right.
That's for sure, or 10 or 12. But that's good, and so that's good to know that the morale is up, because that is important for people to come, because when you have to interact, because again, the police department or police officers, they don't interact with people when they're having just a lovely day. Right. It's usually the interaction with them is because there's some type of crisis that has come about, and that's what you have to do. Now, next question to think about also, they talk about again, and I think it was a misnomer and people stole the ideal. How is the police department dealing with crisis that may not need the legal aspect, but when you say domestic issues, sometimes domestic issues can turn violent, but sometimes it's just the ideal of having counselors or people who know how to deal with people who are in crisis, mental health, those type of things. How's the police department now handling that? Because you hear that across the board, that we're not talking about defund the police, but we're talking about how can we have resources that will help the police officers do their job, where they don't have to necessarily arrest somebody or pull their gun or mace somebody or use the stun gun on individuals. So how's that working with the police department?
As far as trends and policing go, been in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I've kind of seen some different areas, and traveling around the state, being in my position in the union, I'm able to see different departments and how they interact. That is one great thing about St. Joe. We've had a mental health liaison, not only for officers, but for the community that has been with us now for 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
So long before the national image of changing in policing, we were at least a year or two ahead of that.
Wow.
So if they don't respond by themselves.
Right,
If we respond and someone's just, they're having just that mental struggle, and maybe it's not a suicide or a violent situation. They just need to go to Mosaic, or they want to go to Family Guidance, or they need to get a ride to their pastor, or whatever the case may be. Family Guidance has a liaison that works out of our department that will respond on those calls and assist in that manner. And really, it's twofold, because those same officers who are dealing with and seeing all this bad stuff every day, she's a good check for them, and just, hey, how are you doing? Our last one was the horrible incident over on Mitchell with the 6-year-old girl.
Yes.
That was probably the worst crime scene I've ever seen in 17 years. So it was good to have her present in the building to just check on people and have that conversation on, hey, how are you? And actually have to talk about it. I think Police officers are just like most
Just like
men.
everybody. Now,
You know,
question,
pride it.
does our community know that? See, I didn't know that until you told me that. I didn't know that there was a liaison that worked in that capacity with the police department, which then people could see that those steps that people are talking about, being proactive, that's part of that proactive part. I don't know how many community members would know that, because I wasn't aware of it until you just told me.
And I don't know many that do. And that's really a department thing, and I don't know if, we've talked about it a time or two. Just on that subject, we also have a victim advocate that works actually out of detective division. So we're able to, when a domestic violence case is submitted, it comes to the detective bureau, we instantly get in touch with the victim advocate. So whether it be male or female, or no matter how the relationship is formed, the victim advocate reaches out to the victim to immediately start providing services and offer them treatment, or how to obtain an ex parte and that type of stuff. So another trend that we're probably 2 or 3 years ahead of most communities around here. So those type of things are good. Roll it back to the tax.
Right, exactly.
The tax is part of that, trying to keep everything and staying ahead of the trends.
And if more people know about these things, I think they're more inclined to support the tax.
Yep.
So that communication is important.
Yep.
Getting it out to the people. I had another question. When the George Floyd incident happened, what kind of reactions did you see within the department?
Well, us as a union, so it's kind of a tricky thing, just to explain. So every member of the police department is part of the union, including your administration. So although we're one entity, we're two completely separate entities. So even though Chief Canale used to be my boss, when it came to the union, I was actually above him because I'm elected by the body. So right after the George Floyd incident happened, myself and the president, Brad Kearns, and Darren Dudley, and Leroy Barnes, and Dustin Robinson, some of our black community members said, hey, we ought to just have a barbecue. And we did, right down over here at the playground, right after George Floyd. Just to be out in front of things and talk to the community, whether you're white, black, Hispanic, Jewish, it didn't matter. To say, hey, look, that's not us. We don't operate in that fashion, and we hold ourselves accountable. We'll call our own out before the community has to call them out. We don't deal with bad apples, and there's no walking the gray line. It's either you're right or you're wrong in our book.
And that's important to know too. There's many people within certain areas of the community that have not had good dealings. And in that aspect, they need to know that there are people within the department that will not countenance discrimination or anything like that.
And I think our record shows. I mean, we've had a couple incidents here where myself and the president and other union members have turned in other police officers for doing things that were not correct. And our thing is if you can't claim that you stand for right, but then not stand on right. And so that's the type of organization we want to be a part of, and I refuse to be a part of anything else. I mean, that's who I am, that's what I stand for, and just like we told the community then, we would tell, if you have an issue, reach out to us, and let us know. And I can't guarantee, because there's two sides to every story.
How would they go about reaching out?
They can call my work cell phone, 816-344-8959, or my email is on the police department's website. They can always email me. We look into every situation, and if there's any credence to that situation, we'll bring it to the forefront. And I think that's where the George Floyd incident happened. You get those bad apples, and those bad apples begin to rot other apples, and then before you know it, you have a whole bushel that's rotten, and before you know it, it's out of control. So our goal has always been from day one, you get rid of the bad, and the good will stand, and the community will support the truth.
So do you go back on? I know you work. Like say you work 8 to 5, but do you ever have to do duty back on the streets? Okay.
Yep.
I think it's important. You remember when I was at Central, I didn't sit in the office and wait for problems to come. I went out because I could eliminate a whole lot of issues, being in the hallways, going to the classroom, getting students when I needed to talk with them, rather than wasting that time with the blue slip and all that. I would go get them. And I just think makes a difference when they can see our police officers involved in the community, involved with the clientele and the constituency. I think it makes a difference.
But when the weather's nice, I like getting out. I drive my car, which is unmarked, and so I get a different perspective. I can kind of see what's going on without the markings on the car that makes people change how they react. I get to see people in their true element, and it's a good perspective. And I'm able to sit back and look at it from a holistic perspective, from a union side and from who writes my paycheck police side, and say, okay, are we doing the best thing? Are we doing the best practice, or could we be doing something different? You know, and there's always room for improvement. We're not perfect by any means. We're young, so we are going to make some mistakes, but I think it's building those officers, and we want people who, like myself, who went to school here, graduated here, live in this community.
Right.
I think once you get people that are invested in this community, it's a lot different than just a job. It becomes a career.
So you've been with the department, you say 15 years?
So almost 17.
17. So you're at the top as far as how many other officers probably have 17 years of experience with the police? How many how many police officers do we actually have?
We should have 138.
Okay.
We have 109.
So out of that 109, how many would probably be toward that upper tier, 17 or 15 years and more on the force?
I'd say probably less than 30. I think
Is that right?
I think I'm right at like number 22 in seniority. So we're very young. We got a pretty good group in the middle. The issue is about like any factory job or anything else. When you hire 10 people, of course, when it comes time for them to leave, all 10 of those people are ready to leave at the same time. So it creates a huge gap in employment. But we think we're on the right direction. Hopefully this tax will help. It provides incentives as well. That's part of the contract. So for education, if you're educated, you'll receive a stipend out of this tax. If you work midnights, which of course it's hard to get someone to work midnights, no one wants to work midnights. It's rough on your body, it's rough on your family life. They'll get an extra bonus for that, just working midnights, all the specialty things that we do now, so instructing firearms or taser or de-escalation, that we just do now because it's an expectation to maintain what our department has. You'll be compensated for that sort of stuff.
Okay.
So we're actually moving into the 21st century as pay. I think we've always been there as practices.
Well, I think, again, as Gary mentioned, some of these areas, I think, would help people support the tax if they knew this is some of the areas that you do. And that may not be in your belly. They might have a public relation person. But if that information is out there to know that you are trying to be proactive, and here are some of the things that we are doing in our department, providing we get this tax, I think it would help because they're very positive.
Yes.
Very positive.
We're going to get some of that information out right here.
Exactly.
And I appreciate that, and just like everything, it's a balance. Where do the services for the community go as far as telling the community things? So this has provided an opportunity for me and other people just to go out and talk in the community. And it's that fine balance. When you're the victim of a crime and you're waiting on me to do your cell phone, that's more important than me coming and telling the community. So we just have to find that balance, and that would definitely be one area that our department could improve in is communication.
Well, if we get more officers in, then we can find those people that can specialize in certain areas. So
Yes.
that'll help. Julie, how are we doing on time remaining?
30 minutes.
Well, I don't want to speak another 30 minutes. So. Okay.
All right.
Got anything else?
That's it. No, again, I appreciate them coming and sharing with us. Again, I've learned some things about the police department I didn't know that I think are beneficial for our community to know. And part of our podcast is going to be to try to inform the community of those things. And hopefully the community, again, as we talked prior to our broadcast, St. Joe community has for the most part always supported our fire department and our police department, because obviously it's a need. And again, when your house is burning or somebody's breaking in, when you call, you want somebody to respond.
That's right.
And in order to do that, you have to have people who are available to do that. And again, that calls, it takes money to do that. You have to pay for the services that you want.
That's correct. And we thank you guys for taking the time to do this, and just ask the community to support us one more time. They always have, and they will continue to, no matter what their vote is. That this is really just a step in the process. We know how the community stands and how they feel, and we like the two-way street we're on. We hope we can continue to go there.
Right.
This tax just ensures that street continues to be repaved, and it continues to grow.
Yeah. Again,
That's a
appreciate
wrap.
you coming.
Thank you.
All right. When did you graduate?
Hi, I'm Isara Garcia, St. Joseph School Board member. I would like to remind you all that it's time to vote Tuesday, November 8th. The voting polls open at 6 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. The requirements to vote look a little different this year, so to ensure you're ready to go when it's time to vote, please click on the link.
Hello, my name is Roman Adams, and I'm a professional soccer player for American Cali. I'm a first-time voter, and I'm excited to vote November 8th. Please do not forget to vote, because it is our responsibility. Click the link below.
This is Lisa Brady, former Women's KU basketball standout. I'm here today to remind everybody to get out and vote on November the 8th. It's our responsibility. Please click on the link above. Let's go!
Hi, my name is Kevin Briss. I would like to remind you guys to go out and vote Tuesday, November 8th. Voting polls open up at 6 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. Please click on the link to make sure that you're registered. And thank you.
Hi, my name is Craig Curtis. I'm here to remind you to vote. It is your right. On Tuesday, November the 8th, we will be voting. Polls will open at 6 a.m. and will close at 7 p.m. The requirements might look a little different this year. If you need some help or make sure that everything is correct, please click on the link below.
You work for Mr. Dunn down at the rest home, ain't that right?
Yes, sir.
Wonder what old Dunn will say when I tell him one of his gals down here stirring a fuss.
I ain't stirring no fuss. I'm just here trying to register to vote.
Recite the Constitution's preamble. You know what a preamble is?
We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union.
How many county judges in Alabama?
67.
Name them.
This is a G. Wilkes presentation.